yo, what's up, Killas? It is your final girl, Mel, and this is my killer podcast. Today we are going to be going over everything that I watched in the month of November. Why couldn't I have watched this many movies in October? It's ridiculous how many movies I was able to fit in the month of November. So please enjoy the video. Hey guys, thank you so much for joining me today. If you are new here, I am not only on YouTube, I'm also on Instagram, Letterboxd, TikTok. I have a Patreon and a Discord group called The Movie Room. If you want to yog below and click that join button, you can also become a member of my channel. Become a Killa Crew member and enjoy special perks that only you get if you join. Like I said, today we're going to be going over everything I watched in the month of November. There is quite a lot here, so I am not going to waste any time. So, as you know, without any further ado, I clearly am pronouncing that really weird. I know, that's just the dumb person that I am. Let's get into the plethora of movies I watched. All right, starting off the month, I did watch Nope. I am a little late to the game on this one, but I did want to check it out. I gave it 4 stars and a heart. I do have a written review of this one on Patreon. So if you are a Patreon member in the 2nd tier, I believe, you are privy to this written movie review. So if you are not a Patreon, yog on over and consider joining up, and you can get special perks like special written movie reviews. I am going to blow through these kind of fast because I'm not lying to you. There is a lot of them. Next up, I watched My Best Friend's Exorcism. I own this book, so I felt like I needed to check the movie out. I gave it 3 stars and a heart. I did actually enjoy this one. It did have some issues that I couldn't get past, but 3 stars is over half for me, so do check that one out. I picked up the physical release of Orphan First Kills. I actually been hearing a lot of good things about this movie. I gave it 4 stars and a heart. I loved this movie. I absolutely loved it. The twist that this movie had in it was phenomenal. Then I watched Bullet Train. I also picked up the physical release of this one. I gave it 3 stars and a heart. I put in my movie review that I want to watch it again before I actually do a written review on it, just because I thought for sure that I was going to die in love with this movie, and I did it. But I watched it a second time and I liked it a little more, so I want it to sit with me and I want to watch it maybe even another time just to see how I really feel about it, because I take my movie reviews seriously. I don't just throw hearts and stars and numbers at you guys without really doing the research. If I watch a movie and I feel a certain way about it and I'm 100% sure, I'll throw it on Letterboxd. But if I'm not, I'm going to wait before I give you a rating or a written review on it. I did watch 8 Mile. I picked up that Groove exclusive steelbook of it. However, somebody did point out to me that it looks like it says Smile on it, and now that I know that, I can't unsee it. I just can't unsee it. I gave it 3 stars and a heart. I watched Fast Times at Ridgemont High. I gave it 2 stars and a heart. I do like this movie, but man, it just did not hold up for me upon watching it now opposed to watching it way back then. I think I just picked up on a little more of the nuances that kind of were downers, and it didn't have that positive coming of age feel that I thought it had. It was more of a downer. I would recommend 100 other movies over that one if you wanted a real good, old nostalgic coming of age movie. I don't know. For Voyage to the Bottom of the Barrel, I was forced to watch Almighty Thor. This is definitely a Thor ripoff. I gave it 2 stars, no heart. I didn't like this movie, but it wasn't terribly put together, so it didn't warrant a no star or a 1 star for me. But I will not be watching that again. I picked up the Steelbook of The Ring. I'm a little disappointed it wasn't a 4K. It's a Blu-ray. If a 4K comes out, I probably won't pick it up since I picked this one up, but I did give it 4 stars and a heart. This movie is just really well put together. The story is great. Next up, I watched The Amazing Bulk, also a Voyage to the Bottom of the Barrel movie. I gave it 1 star. And No Heart. I didn't really like this movie, but I did think it was interesting what they did with it here. It was like this really weird mix of live action, but also computer generated effects. So if you're into that kind of thing, maybe watch the trailer. It was absurd beyond all absurdity, but it was almost like the absurdness of it was kind of funny. So I was slightly entertained by it, I guess. Then I watched Earth Girls Are Easy. I gave it 4 stars and a heart. I absolutely love this movie. This brought back all the nostalgia for me. And man, Jeff Goldblum was a hottie with a body back in the day. I never, ever, ever felt any kind of way about him other than just like, reminiscing of him in The Fly and Jurassic Park and those kind of things. I never felt any kind of way about him, but in this movie, like, dang, he had some things going on, but it also has a very young Jim Carrey in it. You guys know I absolutely love him, and how adorable was he in this movie? I do feel like Gina Davis was a little miscast in this one. She does not strike me as the super gorgeous, dumb valley girl type to me, though her performance in this movie was amazing and she did a really good job. She is more of a classy humor than she is, the type of role that she was supposed to be in this movie. 4 stars and a heart, loved it. Check it out, go buy it. The Vestron release of that movie is tops. So I watched After Ever Happy. I gave it 3 stars and a heart. Then moving on to Paranormal Activity 2, I gave it 3 stars and a heart. I was on Good Real Hunting's stream where we teared it up for this movie franchise, so I was forced to watch all of the movies. I watched them all in 3 days. I don't recommend it. I got the weirds from it. I had weird shit happening to me in my real life, and I had weird dreams in my sleepy life. My bed life? I don't know. It was really weird, but I will link that stream in all the descriptions on Letterboxd so you guys can check it out. We reviewed all the movies and we gave them a tier ranking. I tried to remember all of my rankings of these movies and do it in star form. I may go back and rewatch that stream just to make sure that I'm staying true to what I said on the stream. But Paranormal Activity 2, I gave it 3 stars and a heart. It was a pretty decent movie. I didn't realize how connected all of the movies were. I really didn't realize that. Then I watched Paranormal Activity 3. I gave it 3 stars and a heart. This one just is kind of a good continuation of the story. Paranormal Activity 4, I did not like this one very much. I felt like the story was almost given up on in this one, and they were trying to do new takes on the story, and it just wasn't really working out. I wish they would have done something different with it. The liberties that they took were not good choices. So I gave it 1 star, no heart. I didn't really like that one as much. However, we move on to Paranormal Activity, the Mark ones. I gave this one 3 stars and a heart. This was actually a really decent movie. It wasn't quite the continuation of the story that 1 through 3 and possibly 4 were. It was almost like they took the story and they branched it off to kind of show you what else was happening within the universe of this movie franchise, and I really liked the performances in this one, and the story in this one was pretty good. Then we can move on to Paranormal Activity to the Ghost Dimension. I gave it 1 star, no heart. I mean, the performances were great in this one. They took some more liberties with the story, and in this one, it really just pissed me off how the parents were with their daughter. It was like, they knew all of these bad things were happening and they knew this entity was coming for their daughter, but yet they constantly were just leaving her in her room, forcing her to be in her room by herself. Do better. 1 star, no heart. Fuck that movie. And last but certainly not least for the Paranormal franchise, I watched Paranormal Activity Next of Kin. I did give this one 3 stars and a heart merely because it was actually a well-executed movie. The story was incredibly interesting. However, this particular movie didn't really have anything to do with the franchise. So that was a little disappointing, and they changed the artwork of this movie. probably to make it its own thing. Maybe they were planning on branching off and going somewhere else with this franchise. In this case, I wish they would have just named it something else and had it be its own movie instead of trying to tag on to the Paranormal Activity name. Then I went down a real rabbit hole one day of watching Jean-Claude Van Damme movies. I alluded to my channel before that I was as big of an action buff as a kid as I was a horror buff, thanks to my dadster. So Jean-Claude Van Damme has always been a favorite of mine in my life. I watched Lionheart. I gave it 4 stars and a heart. I absolutely love this movie. It has so much heart in it. And it was just really fun. I also watched Kickboxer, 4 stars and a heart, for all of the same reasons. If you watch a bunch of Jean-Claude Van Damme's movies right in a row, you kind of notice that they all have similar themes. It's always Jean-Claude Van Damme on his own in the beginning. He teams up with a rough sidekick, as you will, someone from across the tracks to help him do his thing. And then he ends up kicking ass in the end. I mean, that's pretty much the typical outline to any Jean-Claude Van Damme movie. I gave Kickboxer 4 stars and a heart. This movie is actually the one that I remember the most from my childhood, specifically when they dip their hands in the broken glass at the end. I don't know why that always stuck with me, but this also has one of my favorite dance segments of any movie ever. And then I watched Cyborg. I gave this one 3 stars and a heart. This one gets kind of a bad name, but this movie is fun. The costuming is amazing in this movie. The overall premise is interesting, and the bad guy is scary AF. Scary AF. I don't know. I kind of like this movie. I was really disappointed in what happened to the girl in the end just because I felt like she should have made it. Spoiler alert. Then I got my last package for the Shocktober sale, and I was over on deadpit.com's channel, and we went over all of our pickups for that sale. So I ran through and watched them all so I could deeply discuss them on that live stream. I watched The Crush. I gave it 3 stars and a heart. If you guys have seen this movie, you know that end scene when Alicia Silverstone gets jacked in the face. Oh my God. I know it's terrible, but it's so funny. Anyway, moving on, I watched Raising Cain. I gave it 3 stars and a heart. This movie is just batshit crazy in the ways of psychological terror and psychological horror. And John Lithgow just does a phenomenal job in that role because he plays like 5 different characters in that movie. It's just insane. I watched Creature from Black Lake, and I did a movie review on this on the channel, so I will link that below. I will also link it in my Letterboxd if you guys want to check out that video. I gave it 3 stars and a heart. That was just a groovy little release from Synapse. I did dive into True Lies because, like I said, I was on an action kick this month. I gave it 3 stars and a heart. I do enjoy this movie quite a bit. I am a huge Arnold Schwarzenegger fan. I don't put this movie to the level that others do. I feel like this movie, please don't hate me for saying this, but I feel like this movie is getting a little too much praise, specifically because people want it on Blue and they want it on 4K and they want that better upgrade. So they're really praising it more than maybe it needs. But it is a really good movie. It's a great action Arnold Schwarzenegger movie, and it has Jamie Lee Curtis in it. However, she's supposed to be the wife, the love interest, the hottie, and I never really pegged her as like, you know, the hottie with a body. She was always like, you know, a Gina Davis, like a beautiful, intelligent woman, not like, you know, the heartthrob. I don't know. I watched Rent-A-Pal. This was also part of my Shocktober sale. I gave it 3 stars and a heart. This movie gave me all the creepies that everyone told me it was gonna. Will Wheaton did a great job, but the main guy, Brian Landis Fulkins, he did an awesome job in this movie. I spent the entire movie feeling bad for him. I spent the entire movie feeling like he was very charming, and then I spent the rest of the movie feeling like he was a fucking weirdo. So he did an amazing job, even more than Will Wheaton did. But Will Wheaton tends to get the praise on that one. I also watched What Keeps You Alive. This was recommended to me by Double Feature Podcast. I gave it 3 stars and a heart. This was another psychological thriller. I did enjoy this movie. The ending was a bit sad, but it was overall a good watch. Then I got in the Count Yorga collection. I will link that video below if you want to watch my YouTube video reviewing this one, but I absolutely loved these movies. I did give it 3 stars and a heart just because it's not something that I'm going to watch all the time, but I'm super excited to have this in the collection, and I probably will revisit them from time to time. I watched Return of Count Yorga, 3 stars and a heart as well. This was a beautiful box set. If I were giving number ratings for box sets, this would be a 5 or maybe a 4, just because the box set didn't have artwork on the back. That's just me being picky. Next up, I had to watch Death Toilet 2 for another Voyage episode. I gave it no stars. Did you know you can give no stars on Letterboxd? If you didn't, you can. This piece of crap, no pun intended, gets no stars for me. And that's all I'm going to say. But I will link that Voyage episode below so you guys can watch our reviews of that. Any of these movies that I go over that I did a YouTube episode on, I will put those links in the description box below, but I'll also put those links in Letterboxd so you guys can check them out. Then, last but certainly not least, I had to watch Carousel the second for Voyage, and honestly, this movie wasn't that bad. I had different feelings about it than the rest of my Voyagers did. They tended to like it a little less than I did. I gave it 2 stars and a heart. I actually did kind of like this movie. Is there a lovemaking scene between a carousel horse and a man? Yes. Yes, there is. And I gave it 2 stars and a heart regardless of that. So feel free to check that out. All right, guys, that is it. Those are all the movies that I watched in the month of November. Isn't that crazy? I watched upwards of 31 movies this month. That's like a movie a day. I'm like Basement Blues status over here for the month of November. So I hope you guys enjoyed my ratings and reviews. Please check out all the links to the other episodes and videos that I did reviewing some of these movies. That's all super interesting stuff, and you might get some recommendations of some movies you want to check out. But thank you so much for hanging out with me today. If you'd like to further help support me and my channel, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and kill that bell for your girl. And share me with your friends if they need movie recommendations. But also consider hitting that join button below and becoming a channel member. But if you'd like to go above and beyond to help support me and my channel, log on over to my Patreon and just see what's crapping over there. We got some behind the scenes of My Killer Podcast stuff going on over there, and it's going to be really interesting come January. It just helps keep my dream alive, yourselves entertained, and these beautiful lights on in this possibly temporary building. Until the next time we gather, have a killer day.